Hello everyone, and welcome back to another video. This is the 7th episode of story where Naruto's potential is greater than Sasuke Uchiha's, but owing to a life of rejection, he wasn't what was expected, yet beneath every fake smile is a real person who hides out of fear. Watch as Naruto Uzumaki develops into the prodigy he was born to be, as he discovers his ancestors, both his father and the Uzumaki lineage. Please hit the subscribe and like buttons. Let's get this party started. Naruto awoke to the sounds of birds chirping. The cool evening air hit his skin, his hair moving in ice-cold water. Naruto sat up quickly, but winced as pain shot through his body. His hand dropped into the ice-cold pool of the water. He checked his surroundings, and his eyes widened slightly in surprise. It was a perfect circle clearing, a natural pool in the center, perfect green grass and beautiful shimmering ivory and lilac flowers. Blood-red roses also lined the side. Naruto flashed his Rinnegan in an attempt to dispel the possible genjutsu. But what happened wasn't what he was expecting. The clearing became sharper than what his Rinnegan would provide. He could see each of the tiny bugs flitting in the clearing, each individual crack in the bark of the tree. Naruto tried to stand only to fall onto his knees, his arm moving to his abdomen. He hissed as his bare arm aggravated his wound. He turned to look, splash some cold water onto his face and felt his eyes widen and surprise marred his cool face. In place of his swirl, it was now a simple flat blood red, 3 very distinct commas sat in each eye. A perfect Sharingan. Naruto attempted to cut the chakra to his eyes, but found that no matter what he did, it wouldn't shut off. Naruto sighed and stood shakily, his hands moving to the buckle on his belt, his feet slipping off his boots. His tanto was strapped safely in its scabbard. Naruto dropped his pants and underwear, his body reacting as the cool air hit his naked skin. Naruto dipped a toe in the ice-cold pond and he gave a shiver. With a sigh he simply jumped into the pond. It was deeper than he thought. His body was submerged. He briefly considered possible diseases from the water, but as the aggravation of his wound lessened he shrugged off the thought. Naruto stayed underwater longer than most would be able to, his mind in deep thought. He was feeling through his chakra trying to find the healing chakra. His Sharingan helped with identifying chakra, but it was hard to keep a grasp. Naruto swam upwards taking in a gulp of air. His hair was matted to his head, his silk hair tie was floating on the water, leaving his hair to fall down covering his eyes. The back fell to the middle of his shoulder blades. His horns stood up slightly, but not as much when dry. He stood near the side of the pond, leaving the water to go up to his waist. Naruto simply stood and looked up at the clouds. The clearing was the epitome of peaceful. Naruto sighed and pushed his hair backwards. His slicked back look and serious face made him look much like his grandfather, but his father's features were definitively there. Naruto smiled slightly. He had grown accustomed to the horns, which were sticking back up once again. Naruto climbed out of the pond, his wound aching in protest. Naruto had decided to get out after his skin had shriveled slightly. Naruto changed quickly. He pulled the coat onto his shoulders leaving his arms free from their sleeves. His wound ached if he moved his arms too much. Naruto walked to the edge of the clearing, his arm held across his waist. He looked back once more, committing the area to memory. He would return here frequently, this was his peace. He shivered as he walked through the now dark woods. Animals seemed to stalk him frequently, but they would suddenly be chased away by some other larger animal. Naruto stumbled slightly. He heard a quiet whine and looked to his side. A small fox cub was sat looking at him with a cocked head. "Hey little guy," said Naruto softly into the air, his cold demeanor still in place. The fox yipped lightly and moved towards Naruto. Naruto turned and sat down, exhaustion catching up with him. The fox cub put 2 paws on his leg and yipped. Naruto took in the fox's color. It was strange. It wasn't the conventional color of a fox. This fox was white, not a dirty white, but a pure and ice white. The marking on the end of the tail was a majestic blue, similar to his blue fire. The fox's eyes were a piercing silver. Naruto laughed into the air slightly, his lips quirking. "I am going to call you Daisuke," said Naruto. The fox yipped in excitement and leapt around. Naruto smiled slightly. The fox buried itself within Naruto's side. Naruto noted that the fox was unusually warm. "I am Naruto by the way, Naruto Uzumaki," said Naruto. He felt the fox lick his side slightly. Naruto's hand moved to the cub's soft fur. Sakura blinked as a rustling sound roused her from her sleep. She had carried Sasuke and attempted to heal his ever-growing fever. She was exhausted from the day's events. She had to carry Sasuke and heal him at the same time, and also she worried about Naruto, where he had ended up. She had thought about going to find him, but she knew she could jeopardize the team. Her plan was get to the tower and force the clone to return Naruto to her. She was tired and had laced a clearing with traps. and had fallen asleep inside the trunk of a large tree. Sasuke was shivering and had a wet towel on his head. Sakura blinked the sleep from her eyes as the rustling was closer. She heard a yip and a scold from a familiar cool voice. "Damn it, Daisuke, stop yipping," said Naruto. Sakura gasped and stood quickly. She stepped out from the trunk, pushing the curtain of leaves away. She watched as Naruto stumbled into the clearing, his arm laced across his abdomen. On his shoulder was a panting little fox, its tongue lolling out at the side. Sakura leapt at Naruto and wrapped her arms around him. "Naruto, you're okay," she whispered, tears forming in her eyes. She realized Naruto was unresponsive. She stepped back blushing. Naruto smiled slightly. "Glad to see you're alright. Where is Sasuke?" asked Naruto. Sakura sighed. She looked at Naruto. He seemed calmer than usual. He was shirtless, his coat hung on his shoulders. His hair was slicked back slightly, a few strands fell down his face. It was also undone at the back, falling down past his shoulders. He was bit by the ninja. He screamed in pain. "A strange seal was placed on his neck," said Sakura. She looked into Naruto's eyes and gasped, her hand flying up to her lips. She remembered all those months ago, the blood-red swirl in his eyes. Now his eyes were the perfect Sharingan, 3 tomos in each eye. "I know, Sakura. Your guess is as good as mine. Let's have a look at Sasuke, shall we?" said Naruto, blowing some hair as it fell in his eyes. Naruto moved around Sakura. The fox looked at Sakura with its ears perked up. "Where did you find the fox?" asked Sakura. She realized the fox wasn't the usual, conventional colors of a fox. "It found me," said Naruto simply. Sakura realized briefly that Naruto got through all of her traps without tripping one. "How did you get through my traps? None have been set off?" asked Sakura. Naruto looked at her and raised an eyebrow. She took one look into his eyes and rolled her own. "Sharingan. Right," said Sakura. She sat next to Naruto as Naruto took a look at the seal. His mouth was pulled down slightly. "What a strange seal, it has so many elements I can't identify at all. All I know is, this curse mark." "It's bad news," said Naruto simply. Sakura gave a small whimper, but she noticed the red raw wound on Naruto's stomach. "Naruto, why haven't you healed yet? You have that weird accelerated healing, right?" asked Sakura. Naruto rubbed the wound and winced. "Healing is slow going for the moment," said Naruto. Sakura nodded and moved to Naruto. She placed her hand on his shoulders, only for the fox to give an adorable little growl. "It's okay. What's its name?" asked Sakura. Naruto smiled slightly, scratching the fox behind the ear, a movement it welcomed. "His name is Daisuke," said Naruto simply. Sakura smiled at the cub. "Don't worry, Daisuke-kun, I am just going to heal your friend," said Sakura kindly. The cub regarded her before it shocked them both by giving a nod. Sakura blinked slightly before she pushed Naruto to lie down. Naruto removed his arm and Sakura began to heal the wound. Naruto closed his eyes and went into mediation mode, trying to find the healing chakra. He found it once more. He grabbed hold of it mentally and tried to control it. Sakura gasped slightly as his wound knit together. "Keep healing, you are helping me control it," said Naruto. Sakura nodded. She watched as a black seal began to appear on his abdomen. It was an elegant design and then 5 points were added to the outside of the seal. They both stopped healing. Sakura grabbed some gauze and wrapped it around his abdomen and over his shoulder. "People will question why you are healed so quickly," said Sakura, her eyes drifting to the seal. "You don't want to know," said Naruto. Sakura looked at Naruto sharply. "I do. Why didn't you tell us the fourth was your dad?" asked Sakura. Naruto frowned and rubbed a hand through his already slicked back hair. He pulled a few of the loose strands backwards. "Because the Hokage told me not to, that and you would all start to expect greatness. I want people to know me for me," said Naruto. Sakura nodded, accepting the reason slightly. "But you should have said, I always thought you were an orphan. It must be nice having a family even if they are." Sakura trailed off. Naruto nodded. "It is nice," said Naruto. Sakura looked into Naruto's Sharingan. "Was your mother an Uchiha?" asked Sakura. Naruto blinked before he looked away. "No," he said simply. They both fell into silence. Sakura was contemplating the truth and mystery surrounding Naruto. She begrudgingly admitted, he was far more mysterious than Sasuke. It was quiet through the day. Both were helping Sasuke in any way they could. The fox cub just spent most of its time attached to Naruto. "So are you just going to teleport us back to the tower? We can heal Sasuke there," said Sakura. Naruto shook his head. "Sasuke is not ready to be moved. Once he is up I will make the preparations," said Naruto softly. Sakura nodded and continued to heal what she could. "Naruto, I won't tell anyone if you don't want me to, about your dad said Sakura. Naruto nodded. "Sasuke already heard, but don't tell anyone else," said Naruto simply. Sakura nodded and suddenly one of her traps went off. Someone is here, said Sakura. She sent out a chakra pulse to find out where the enemy was. She felt 3 chakra signatures in a tree the opposite end of the clearing. Yes, 3, they have been there for 30 minutes, they are checking for an entry point, said Naruto simply. Sakura nodded and relaxed. There are 3 layers to the traps plus a hidden 4th, said Sakura. Naruto nodded in understanding. Sakura, they are going to attack in the morning, you go out there and fight, I will circle and flank them, said Naruto. Sakura nodded. Good plan, Naruto. What about Sasuke, asked Sakura. Naruto tweaked his mouth slightly. We are strong enough to defend him, said Naruto. Sakura nodded. Naruto motioned for her to lie down. What, murmured Sakura. Naruto smiled slightly. Get some rest, we need our strength, said Naruto simply. He stared, his eyes able to see in the dark easily. He could see the 3 ninja clearly, their lips were easily spotted, he could tell what they were talking about, their lip movements making words in his mind. Orochimaru-sama said, watch out if the redhead is there. There are 3 chakra signatures inside, the redhead is the one who burned Orochimaru-sama, said the sound ninja with bandages on his head. Naruto smirked slightly, pleased he had dealt some damage to Orochimaru. It was early morning when Sakura woke silently. Are they still there, asked Sakura quietly. Naruto nodded silently. They have moved into a direct position. Be careful, said Naruto. Sakura nodded and stretched. She gave Sasuke a once-over and after healing him slightly, her and Naruto both sat in anticipation. It was 11 when all the traps were set off. Sakura leapt out of the tree in mock surprise. The 3 sound ninja landed in the clearing. Sakura tensed her fingers grasping the senbon in her pack. Hand over Sasuke Uchiha, little girl, and we won't kill you, said the bandaged leader. Dosu, let's just waste this chick and get the Uchiha, said the brown-haired ninja. He had 2 worn wooden face protectors attached to his headband. He wore a beige shirt with 2 black stripes and 3 prints of the kanji for death down the front. The girl had long black hair, a pale green vest, similar to a flak jacket, and snake-patterned pants and scarf. Sakura looked at the team blankly. Sorry, but you 3 won't last long, said Sakura. Confidence echoed in her voice. She was about to move forward when a green blur appeared in front of her. Sakura-kun, have no fear, for the handsome green beast has arrived to fight for you, said Lee. Sakura gave a sigh. Lee, it's fine, I had a plan, said Sakura. Lee looked at her with tears in his eyes. But Sakura-kun, But before Lee could finish, Sakura shoved into him hard. He stumbled backwards as the air rippled in the middle of them. The trees behind them exploded from the invisible force. Weirdo and green, get the fuck away so I can kill this little bitch, said the beige-shirted sound ninja. Lee stood in his fighting stance. I cannot allow that, she is a fellow leaf ninja, said Lee before he blurred. He dashed at the beige-shirted member, only to have his way blocked by Dosu. I will not allow you to harm my teammate, said Dosu. Lee simply spun and kicked Dosu around the head. Dosu bounced sideways. Lee was upon him once more. Whilst they were fighting, Sakura and the other 2 stood still. So who goes first, said the sound girl, her confident smirk unwavering. I will, said the beige-shirted member. Sakura tensed and fingered her senbon lightly. You have such pretty hair, whispered a voice in her ear. Sakura winced as the female sound member laced a hand into her long hair, pulling it out from the bun. Where are you, Naruto? Sakura thought. The girl was about to cut her hair when Dosu was kicked into the air. Lee had wrapped him in bandages and now they were both spinning towards the ground. The beige-shirted ninja slammed his palms into the floor, the ground rippling towards the impact point. Dosu's head was submerged with a crack, and Lee flipped backwards onto his knees. He was panting from the physical strain. That was a close one, Dosu, said the beige-shirted ninja. Dosu put his legs on the floor and pulled his head out of the ground. That was too close, Zaku, said Dosu in anger. Lee looked at the unharmed ninja in disbelief. Said ninja looked at him and simply sent out a fist. Sakura watched as Lee began to shake, his ears bleeding. Dosu walked up to Lee and simply kicked him in the stomach. Damn it, leave him alone, screamed Sakura. She received a punch in the face courtesy of the female member of the team. Shut up, said the female. Zaku walked towards the tree when he was suddenly rocketed backwards by an invisible force. He slid next to the female member, shock on his face. Sorry I'm late, said Naruto as he casually appeared out of thin air, his feet touching the ground gracefully. Where the fuck were you, growled Sakura. Naruto tapped his nose. Team 10 were hidden behind the tree line, watching the 2 groups in suspense. Ino covered her nose at the topless Naruto. Naruto looked straight at them. Shikamaru, Ino, and Choji, get out of there, said Naruto. Shikamaru sighed and stood up. Lee felt his vision swim. He is the one Gai-sensei warned me about. How he is stronger than he appears, thought Lee. He felt a boot drive into his face. "Ah, here's the pretty redhead," said the female member with a predatory grin. Naruto regarded her coolly. Shikamaru and team stood by Naruto. Shikamaru took one look at Naruto's eyes and felt his own eyes widen. "Don't bother," muttered Naruto. Shikamaru nodded and watched as the female member drove her boot into Sakura's stomach. "Kin, we are outnumbered," said Dosu. Kin nodded and dropped Sakura's hair. She drove a couple of boots in for extra measure. "Whoever said we would let you run away?" said Naruto, his face cold. "We are stronger than all of you," said Zaku with confidence. Naruto shrugged. "Maybe," said Naruto. He crouched and touched his hand to the floor. He jumped and blurred. He landed behind Dosu, his blade sliding home with a click. Dosu cried out in anger as his metal gauntlet fell to the floor. Kin kicked Sakura harshly, before her body shuddered. "Shikamaru, I have her, get the other one," said Ino in Kin's body, but before she could move, a harsh strike of air hit her in the stomach. Ino's body coughed out blood. "Damn it, she was your teammate," said Choji in anger. Zaku shrugged. "Not at the moment. I wonder what would happen if I kill her," said Zaku maliciously. Dosu glared at Naruto. "That wasn't the only thing I used," said Dosu. He looked at Naruto in the eye and blinked in shock. "Oh, I know, but you were in my way," said Naruto. He spun and kicked Dosu in the head, his foot shimmering. Dosu felt the boulder force strike his head and he flew to his teammates with a thump. "Uzumaki-san, Sasuke Uchiha is," said Neji before a potent killing intent leveled the clearing. Purple chakra swirled around the tree trunk. Sasuke stepped out with a purely evil smirk on his face. Naruto raised an eyebrow slightly and looked at Sasuke. "Sasuke?" murmured Naruto. Sasuke locked eyes with Naruto. Naruto watched as comprehension flicked across Sasuke's face. His glare deepened at Naruto. "I will deal with you in a moment," said Sasuke harshly. He turned to look at Sakura. He moved to her with a deadly gait. Ino and her team moved away. Ino shivered. "Sasuke-kun," whispered Ino. Sasuke bent down and grabbed Sakura's chin, his eyes soft. "Who did this to you, Sakura?" questioned Sasuke. Sakura was about to answer when Zaku stepped forward. "I did. Why, what are you going to do about?" But Sasuke disappeared in a blur. He appeared behind Zaku. "I will kill you," said Sasuke. He kicked Zaku hard, his mind reveling in the speed and strength his body had. Sasuke was brutal. He moved around the hurt Zaku and grabbed both of his arms. "Sasuke, stop," said Naruto forcefully. Sasuke glared at him. "Don't tell me what to do, you worthless liar," said Sasuke. Sasuke put his foot on Zaku's back. He began pulling. The creaking was heard by everyone in the clearing and even Neji and Tenten in the tree. "Ah, get off," cried out Zaku. Sasuke just smirked. "You seem attached to these arms, so I will take them away," said Sasuke, the crunching sound getting louder. Sakura wrapped her arms around Sasuke. "Sasuke couldn't stop it, I am okay," said Sakura. Sasuke pushed her off and wrenched out Zaku's arms with a swift motion. Zaku cried out in agony. He stumbled to his team, his arms not moving at all. "Get the fuck out of here," said Sasuke maliciously. His glare moved onto Naruto. "Don't even bother," said Naruto. Sasuke glared at Naruto. "How is it you have the Sharingan? Anybody other than Uchiha is not worthy," said Sasuke. Naruto raised a red eyebrow. Naruto crouched and did his speed technique. Sasuke backward flipped onto his hands. He was about to strike at Naruto when he made the mistake of making eye contact. Sasuke awoke tied to a tree. His body ached, his head was pounding. "Awake, I see. Are you calm enough to talk to?" asked Naruto softly. Sasuke looked at Naruto's still active Sharingan. "How do you have the Sharingan?" asked Sasuke. Naruto sighed and shrugged. "I don't even know, I had a totally different dojutsu that morphed into this," said Naruto. Sasuke shook his head. "Whatever, just let me down," said Sasuke. Naruto just looked to Sakura, who gave a nod. "Sasuke, are you well enough to travel? We are going to teleport to the tower," said Sakura. Sasuke just glared at her. "Let me down," said Sasuke simply. Naruto sighed and let Sasuke down. "Let's go," said Naruto. He held out his palms on either side. Sasuke and Sakura both moved next to him, both putting their palms against each other and his. Naruto had a clone send a blue fireball into the air. Sasuke and Sakura felt their bodies pull upwards. It was like they were being stretched. They then watched as they were pulled into nothingness for the briefest moment. Then they appeared in front of the tower. The clone stood with his palm on the ground and the other hand was a single ram seal. Team 7 felt their bodies lock, unable to move. Naruto motioned his eyes to the clone, and the clone released the seal. Naruto stumbled slightly, his chakra and mind taking a hit from an active clone being alive from so long. "You okay?" questioned Sakura. Naruto nodded. "Let's finish this part of the exam," said Naruto. Naruto and the other hopeful Jonin were stood in a large assembly hall. Nobody had a chance to relax, as they had to sit in this room and wait. Shikamaru's team was the last to arrive. The hall was large with 2 balconies on either side, a hand sculpture in the form of a ram seal. Naruto smiled at Hinata, glad to see she was okay. The Hokage coughed to get people's attention. Congratulations on all students who completed this part of the exams, now for the next part. The Hokage was interrupted by a Jonin who appeared crouched in front of him. Let me Hokage-sama, said the sick-looking Jonin. He turned and regarded the hopefuls with a critical eye. Kakashi, glad to see your students made it, said Guy. Kakashi just ignored him, but he then suddenly looked up from his book. Oh Guy, did you say something, said Kakashi. Guy mock cried whilst Tenten looked at Kakashi with a critical eye. He looks much stronger than Gai-sensei, he is also much better looking. I have only seen him play stupid games with Gai-sensei, thought Tenten. The Jonin coughed before he began. Due to the large number of contestants actually passing the second part of the exam, we are going to be holding a preliminary test. You will each fight one-on-one until we come to the final 10, said the Jonin. Kiba raised his hand. Are we not allowed to rest, questioned the Sound Ninja. The Jonin shook his head. No, in a battle situation you would be unable to rest. Please proceed to stand with your Jonin-sensei on the stand. Before I begin, is there anyone who wishes to drop out, said the Jonin. Everyone shuffled, mumbling echoed across the hall. I do, Proctorson, said Kabuto. Naruto eyed him with a suspicious scowl. Okay, Kabuto Yakashi, please leave the tower, said the Jonin. Sasuke glared at Sakura, who was telling him to get the seal checked out. Unbeknownst to him, Kakashi, Anko and the Hokage were eyeing him critically. I say we ban him from the competition, said Anko with a growl. The old Hokage heaved a sigh. It's not that easy, Anko, said the old Hokage. Kakashi nodded. Sasuke isn't the type to take things lying down. He would go straight to the council, possibly revealing Naruto has the Sharingan, said Kakashi. Sarutobi dropped his pipe. Anko chocked slightly. What, they both hissed in a whisper. His jujutsu has morphed into a fully matured Sharingan, and believe me when I say, according to Sakura, he wields it like one as well. He put Sasuke in a genjutsu with just a look, said Kakashi in a whisper. Sarutobi sighed. I never imagined such a thing could happen so fast, said Sarutobi. Anko and Kakashi looked at him sharply. You knew about this, they both questioned. Sarutobi nodded and looked at Naruto, who was giving Sasuke a blank look. Jiraiya-kun told me about it years ago, my Tosama long before that. Kakashi, go to your team, ordered Sarutobi. Kakashi frowned and disappeared in a blur of leaves. Hokage-sama, why weren't any of us told, asked Anko. Sarutobi sighed. Because my dear Anko, your former sensei, and my rival would have snapped him up in an instant, said Sarutobi softly. Anko gave a brief nod. The pale Jonin gave a cough as the board began to flicker. The first match is Sasuke Uchiha vs Kiba Inuzuka, said the Jonin. Kiba cheered slightly at going first. Sasuke gave a grunt and a malicious smirk. Kiba, be careful, said Kurenai. Kiba just waved her off with a blasé hand wave. He won't do much against me, Kurenai-sensei. I have trained hard, said Kiba. He jumped over the railings and landed lightly on his feet. Sasuke deliberately walked down the stairs slowly. Naruto was fuming inwardly, Sasuke claiming Naruto should give up his eyes as he was not worthy. Naruto was hoping Kiba would beat Sasuke, but knew it was unlikely. Round 1, Kiba vs Sasuke. Are you both ready, said the Jonin. Both gave a nod and the Jonin looked at everyone. Killing is not permitted. I will step in when I feel the person has gone too far. Any outside help will result in disqualification, said the Jonin. Everyone nodded. He raised his arm and jumped backwards. Kiba flew at Sasuke with a vicious swipe of his clawed hand. Sasuke dodged the blows easily. Kiba, though, had been taught to never lose his patience, however small it was. He jumped, sending more swipes, his feet moving into the mix. Sasuke was smirking as he moved left to right, dodging the blows. He hadn't even needed to activate his Sharingan. He ducked beneath another wide throw and Sasuke thrust his fist beneath Kiba's chin. Kiba's teeth snapped together with a loud crack, his head jerked back painfully, he flew off of his feet. Sasuke followed swiftly. He moved around Kiba. Kiba still in mid-fall. Sasuke grabbed one of Kiba's arms and with a harsh elbow Sasuke thrust it into Kiba's throat. Kiba coughed out blood. Sasuke uncaringly spun and with a high foot, slammed it into Kiba's ribs, forcing Kiba into the floor with a loud crack. Kiba coughed out blood, his breathing labored. Won't do much against you, get real, said Sasuke. Kiba felt his vision blur. Sasuke's hits were solid, his ribs were cracked, that much he knew. He heard more than saw Kurenai dashing towards him. Sasuke, you could have killed him, said Kurenai, her tone scolding. Sasuke glared at her. Whatever, said Sasuke simply. Kurenai turned to see Kakashi giving Sasuke a glare. He looked at Kurenai and gave an eye smile. Kurenai nodded once. Naruto watched as Sasuke walked up and glared at him. "So where were we?" "Oh right, you and that Sharingan you stole," said Sasuke. Naruto growled in his chest, his face still composed. "I stole, I am deserving of it just as much as you are," said Naruto. Sasuke glared hotly. "Was your mother an Uchiha?" snarled Sasuke. Naruto sighed. "No, she was not." But before Naruto could finish, Sasuke had a hand around his throat, a kunai going for his eye. Naruto simply grabbed the wrist wielding the kunai and squeezed tightly. The creaking of Sasuke's bones was heard by everyone close. Whilst this was going on, another fight had taken place. It was Shino versus Zaku of the Sound Team. Naruto watched the match out of his periphery, his Sharingan cataloging all information. The rest of his concentration was on Sasuke. "You don't deserve it," hissed Sasuke. Naruto frowned, his Sharingan spinning. Kakashi caught Sasuke as he fell forward limply. Sasuke glared at Naruto sleepily. "Calm down, Sasuke, nobody cares what you say," said Naruto calmly. Sasuke just felt himself being lowered to the floor. He couldn't feel his lower body. Naruto had cut off the feeling with a heavy genjutsu. "Why does he have the Sharingan?" thought Sasuke with an evil snarl. Naruto clapped as Shino won the match by using his brain. Naruto watched each match as they were called out. Sakura and Ino agreed to draw, due to the fact Sakura held back slightly. Ino was beaten up more than Sakura, but Ino had used her clan technique, making it impossible for Sakura to win. Naruto was intrigued with Tenten versus Temari of the Sand Village. Temari's wind chakra abilities were a marvel to watch with the Sharingan. She used sealess jutsu so he couldn't really copy it, not that he would without her consent, but watching how her chakra manipulated the wind around her. Naruto had to smile as Shikamaru begrudgingly won his match. Once more brain over brawn, or in this case, genjutsu. Naruto knew out of most Jonin, Sasuke and Shikamaru would give him the most trouble. Hinata had come to stand next to Naruto, a blush on her face as she took in his shirtless state. Naruto was also growing tired of Lee's moaning, which is why when Lee's name appeared on the board, Lee was happy, but Naruto grumbled under his breath as his name bleeped. "Look after Daisuke, Hinata-kun," said Naruto. Hinata nodded and smiled as the small fox yipped and landed on her shoulder. "Lee Rock versus Naruto Uzumaki," said the Jonin. Hinata whispered her good luck. "Lee, remember, watch out for him," said Guy. Kakashi smirked at Guy. "What's wrong, Guy? Don't trust your Jonin," said Kakashi. Guy scowled at Kakashi. "Don't get me wrong, Lee will win, but Naruto-kun there is pretty fast. I don't need to worry about the Sharingan. I have taught Lee how to battle such an opponent," said Guy. Kakashi couldn't help it. Pride and humor filled his body. "How about a game, Guy?" said Kakashi. Guy's eyes lightened. Tenten grumbled and Neji shook his head. "Sure, my youthful rival. What is the game?" said Guy. Kakashi closed his book with a dramatic slam. "Oh, we will not be competing. Our students are our representatives. If Naruto-kun wins, you have to not wear your jumpsuit and bowl haircut for a whole month," said Kakashi. Guy shivered whilst everyone looked at Kakashi with hopeful eyes. Sarutobi overheard the conversation and smirked. "And if Lee wins, you have to wear a jumpsuit, Kakashi, and matching leg warmers," said Guy, his eyes alight with the thought of a challenge. Kakashi inwardly shivered. "Sure, best think of a different outfit, Guy," said Kakashi. Guy smirked slightly. "I'm sorry, Kakashi, but I have trained Lee to be the best at taijutsu. None stand next to Lee," said Guy. Kakashi smirked. "We will see," said Kakashi conspiratorially. Naruto looked at Lee with a calm countenance. Lee was smiling ear to ear. "I was glad I had the opportunity to fight you, Naruto-kun. Your speed was quite a surprise when I fought Sasuke-kun," said Lee. Naruto simply stared at Lee, his arm over his abdomen moved, his hand sliding into his pocket. "Ready? Go," said the Jonin. Everyone tensed as Naruto and Lee didn't move. Naruto stood with his hands in his pockets. Lee stood in his taijutsu pose. "Are you going to come at me, Naruto?" said Lee. Naruto simply blinked. He slipped a hand out of his pocket and watched as Lee's eyes followed the movement. A kunai was spinning delicately in Naruto's fingers. Naruto moved the kunai up and past his face. He smirked as Lee made eye contact. "Sorry, Lee, but I cannot lose here," said Naruto. Lee realized his mistake too late. His heart thudded slightly, sound becoming muted. He tried not to panic as darkness began to creep in from invisible cracks in the wall. Gai-sensei created a seal. "I need to tap my arm and it should work," thought Lee. He shakily moved his hand to his arm and with a harsh slap he hit his arm. Guy's chakra pulsed through his body briefly. He blinked and had to dodge immediately. Naruto's kunai an inch from his face. Lee flipped backwards a couple of times. He stood, his eyes remaining on Naruto's feet. The Sharingan is truly a frightening dojutsu, said Lee loudly. A few people gasped, whilst others looked at Naruto with a critical eye. The sound ninja sensei eyed Naruto with something akin to horror and wonder. That seal on your arm is how you got out of the genjutsu, said Naruto simply. Lee nodded, not removing his eyes from Naruto's feet. Gai-sensei created it. I have underdeveloped chakra, a condition, so I can only use taijutsu, said Lee. Naruto sighed and rubbed a hand through his hair. That is unfortunate, said Naruto. Lee blinked in shock as Naruto blurred. Lee dodged backwards. Naruto sent out a palm strike, narrowly missing Lee. Lee twisted as Naruto simply blurred, and appeared the other side of Lee. He hit Lee with a shimmering palm. Lee winced as the concrete palm hit his side. He flew forward. He heard Naruto slap a palm onto the floor. Lee quickly adjusted his feet, stopping himself, but Naruto appeared, his foot slamming into Lee's face. Lee was rocketed backwards, his back slamming against the large pillar. Naruto brushed a hand through his hair. Please try harder, said Naruto coldly. Lee shakily stood, his eyes meeting Naruto's once again. But no genjutsu came. He watched as the Sharingan faded, leaving Naruto's regular silver eyes. Your Sharingan has faded, stated Lee. Naruto rolled his eyes. Nothing wrong with your eyesight, said Naruto simply. Lee nodded. He was about to move forward when he heard Guy's voice. Lee, take them off, said Guy. Everyone watched as Lee eagerly took off his leg weights. How primitive, said Naruto simply. He knew the limitations to leg weights, having considered them. Lee threw a leg weight at Naruto. Naruto simply struck out a palm, bending the metal around his hand. The sound echoed in the room. You have a very strong punch, said Lee. Naruto held up a hand similar to Lee. Lee watched as the hand shimmered blue. Punched a hole right through Zabuzamomochi, said Naruto. Lee shivered slightly, his legs feeling lighter. He bounced on his feet. Here I come, Naruto-kun, said Lee. Naruto smirked and simply stood in his relaxed stance. Lee disappeared. Everyone blinked in shock. A loud boom echoed through the room. Lee was slammed into a wall once more. His other set of weights had a four-fingered size hole punched into it. Sorry, Lee-kun. Try harder, said Naruto. Lee nodded, hearing no mocking tone in Naruto's voice, only support. Lee blurred once more. Everyone watched as Naruto simply leant forward, Lee's kick missing by a breath. Naruto twisted his head, still ducked as Lee did a high kick. Both were fighting elegantly, neither was hitting, though Kakashi could see Naruto was doing so deliberately. Naruto is amazing, muttered Ino. Hinata nodded with a smile, something Neji caught and smirked slightly. Lee will win, he is strong, said Tenten. Sakura smirked slightly. If he wins it will be because Naruto held back, said Sakura. Tenten smirked slightly. Sore loser, muttered Tenten. Sakura smirked slightly. More like, Naruto hasn't used a single ninjutsu, said Sakura. Tenten immediately skilled her expression. What she says is true. Lee only has a chance whilst Naruto doesn't use a ninjutsu, but Lee is fast. Naruto wouldn't be able to do hand seals fast enough, thought Tenten. They watched as Lee slammed a fist against Naruto's cheek. Naruto flew backwards. He skidded on his back slightly before he rolled his body and stood back on his feet. Lee was smirking at Naruto. Don't get cocky, said Naruto, flinging out an arm elegantly. Blue katanas began revolving around Naruto. Lee looked at them with a scowl. He dashed forward, and as he went to kick, the blades all moved, pointing in his direction. Naruto held a palm out and the swords flew at Lee with deadly accuracy. Lee dodged. The searing pain hit his body as each blade shallowly cut into his body. Naruto's hands flashed through seals, and he blew out a large plume of blue fire. Lee, don't be hit by that, called out Guy. Lee landed on his feet and blurred quickly. Too slow, said Naruto. Lee watched as Naruto struck two palms against Lee's chest. Lee was rocketed backwards, the world turning into a blur. Naruto appeared above Lee, and his boot slammed into Lee's stomach. Lee slammed into the floor with a crack. Lee found he couldn't stand, his body ached, his legs felt like lead. It was then he noticed the strange black seal on his stomach. Why don't you sealed me, murmured Lee. Naruto nodded. You won't be getting up until I release the seal, said Naruto simply. Winner Naruto Uzumaki, said the Jonin. Naruto released the single ram seal and Lee stood shakily. I can still fight, Lee coughed. The Jonin shook his head. Naruto nodded to Lee and helped him back to the stand. Good fight, no doubt you'll become the best, said Naruto, his tone kind. Lee smiled at Naruto. Thank you, Naruto-kun, said Lee. Naruto nodded and put Lee next to the crying Gai-sensei. Naruto, you truly are a warm-hearted shinobi, cried Guy. Naruto shook his head, heard the board beep, and he looked at the screen. His heart thumped unevenly. Hinata, Naruto whispered. Hinata looked at him with a frightened smile. I will be okay, said Hinata. Naruto nodded. He moved to the railings and watched as Neji flipped over the bars. Hinata walked to the center, her body rigid. Hinata Hyuga vs Neji Hyuga, said the Jonin. Naruto watched, his hands clenching the bar tightly. Hinata had told him about Neji's hate, how he would belittle her, and when they sparred Neji would not hold back. Why am I worrying like this? She is just a friend, a close friend indeed, but I didn't feel like this with Sakura, Naruto thought to himself. Sakura watched the usually hidden tension roll off Naruto. She will be fine, she whispered. Naruto looked at her sharply. She gasped inwardly, the compassion and fear in Naruto's eyes. She hadn't seen him this expressive since before the Junon graduation. They missed the go. Daisuke was curled up on Sakura's shoulder. It couldn't handle the tension coming off of Naruto. Hinata and Neji were both attacking each other with precision. Naruto smiled proudly as Hinata got in a few hits that made Neji widen his eyes. They attacked with vigor. He heard Guy briefly explain the Hyuga fighting style. Hinata was confident, she was striking, remembering all of her training with Naruto. Hinata spun and gracefully struck at Neji twice. Using the momentum, she launched herself over him, her two fingers hitting their mark easily. Neji stumbled forward. Hinata landed lightly on her feet, her arms resuming their stance. She struck at Neji, only for him to move out of the way, his palm striking her chest. The chakra output caused a small explosion of chakra to come out of her back. Sakura and Kakashi, Leonino moved away from Naruto as a snarl developed in his mouth, his face stony calm. Kakashi clamped a warning hand on Naruto's shoulder. "You think you are strong, don't you, Hinata, when you are still nothing," said Neji hatefully. Hinata coughed out a bit of blood, her Byakugan fading. "Neji-kun, I will beat you here," said Hinata. She fell into the Hyuga stance. "You just don't get it, you can have a genius train you, but that doesn't make you a genius. Naruto has his own fate, yours is to be weak. Why fight to change something that cannot be changed," said Neji. Hinata felt her eyes widen, her eyes flicked to Naruto, who was glaring, his eyes were wild slightly. "What would you know, you insolent little whelp, your little speech of fate, your fate is to become scum, something I can scrape from beneath the bottom of my boot," growled Naruto. His tone was deeper, his accent was something akin to Hiyashi Hyuga, only richer, his tone ice cold. Many who knew Naruto's secret recognized the deeper timbre that echoed through his voice. "He even defends you, how pitiful, you must have sucked him into your little lies, Hinata." "How pitiful indeed," said Neji. He smirked at the low guttural growl. Naruto was trying to calm down his body, he didn't understand why he was reacting the way he was. Hinata and Neji fought once more. Naruto felt Kurenai and Anko place calming hands on his shoulder. "Let her fight, Naruto," said Kurenai. Naruto was just staring straight ahead. I don't apostrophe T. Why am I reacting like this?" whispered Naruto. Anko smiled at Naruto sadly, Kurenai also smiled sadly. Ino was about to talk when a cough from Asuma and him shaking his head stopped her. The fight grew one side, Hinata trying to keep up, Neji's attacks were growing more vicious. Naruto had clamped his hands on the bars, his hands shimmering, twisting the metal into impossible angles. Neji moved swiftly around Hinata's strikes, and slammed a palm on her chest once more. Hinata weakly coughed out a larger pool of blood. She fell to her knees. "Don't bother getting back up, if you do I won't hesitate to kill you," said Neji. The Jonin was about to call the match when Hinata struggled up. "Why doesn't he call the match? He did for Lee," whispered Tenten. Guy shook his head. "Naruto beat Lee with a seal, Lee wouldn't be able to move. Hinata is still fighting on her own free will," said Guy. Neji shook his head. "So weak, you think you can win, but you will never be strong enough," said Neji. He dashed forward, his hands glowing with chakra. Neji briefly heard a snarl. He watched as Hinata fell to her knees, his strike would enter. Three things happened at once. He was pushed backward slightly by the Jonin proctor, Guy's arms wrapped around his body, the other Jonin and Anko were holding back Naruto, who had his tanto inches from Neji's face. Naruto's eyes were glaring hard, the Sharingan spinning wildly. "I will kill you," said Naruto with a deadly whisper. Neji shivered from the look, a hand quickly blocked his view of the Sharingan. "Naruto, calm down. You'll be disqualified," said Anko. Naruto just snarled, the sound completely feral. The fox cub was snarling also, its tail glowing blue slightly. "And Naruto-kun," came a whispered cough behind them. The Jonin were all surprised to find Naruto had slunk out of their grasp in a blur. He was holding Hinata's hand and brushing some of her sweat-matted fringe away from her face. Are you okay?" Hinata-kun asked Naruto softly. His face had returned to its calm state. Did I do well?" whispered Hinata. Naruto felt a tear spring into his eyes. He couldn't understand all of these tumbling emotions, so close to the surface, they were slowly falling away, but nothing had actually made him feel in so long. "Yeah, you did great, I am proud," said Naruto with a small smile. a tear running down his face. Thank you, she whispered before her eyes slid closed. Naruto's Sharingan picked up the shutter in her heart, and in a flash of yellow lightning he was gone. What was that? Was whispered throughout all of the Jinan. Kurenai blinked at the spot where Naruto was. That was whispered Kurenai. Asuma put a hand on her shoulder. I thought you saw it earlier, asked Asuma. Kurenai blinked, remembering back when Naruto had came all the way back to the village for medicine. He had left in yellow lightning. I never paid attention, said Kurenai. The Jonin proctor told everyone to move to their places. The matches needed to continue. As night fell, Naruto was sleeping in Hinata's hospital room. Daisuke was curled up in his lap. The window was closed. He had Hiroshinned in. Unbeknownst to Naruto, Sarutobi and Kakashi were making preparations with Naruto's new sensei. Naruto awoke to the sound of someone's king in his ear. He opened his eyes, hearing Daisuke give a growl. Naruto's eyes lazily slid open, in which Kurenai, Kiba and Shino was each looking at him. The nurse was glaring at him, and the little fox in his lap. In here without authorization, with an animal no less, growled the nurse. Naruto simply stood. His baggy t-shirt and shorts, and messy hair, made Kurenai give a smirk. If only Hinata could see him now, she would probably faint, thought Kurenai. Naruto simply stood and walked to the door. Sorry, how are you feeling? Kiba asked Naruto calmly. Kurenai sighed in relief. According to his teammates, that was the first time in the months they had been a team, that Naruto had ever broken his calm composure. It showed Kurenai how deeply he cared for Hinata, even if he didn't understand it yet. Pretty good. I have to drink this stuff to make my teeth grow faster, grumbled Kiba. Naruto smiled slightly. I am assuming it tastes horrible, said Naruto. He watched as Kiba turned green slightly. You have no idea, said Kiba. Naruto laughed. He looked at Shino and inclined his head. Good win, Shino, said Naruto. Shino inclined his head also. You too, Naruto. Very smartly played, said Shino. Naruto nodded, and with the fox curled on his shoulder he left the hospital room. As he was walking to the exit, he saw Kakashi striding purposely towards him. Naruto, you weren't at home, said Kakashi. Naruto noticed the slight blush on Kakashi's face. Anko round again, asked Naruto. Kakashi looked at Naruto sharply. Naruto raised his shoulders and dropped them lazily. Yeah, anyway, I can't train you for the month, started Kakashi, but Naruto gave a snort. Yeah, okay, but you have enough time to train Sasuke, right? And you can't say it's because he has the Sharingan because... But before Naruto could continue, Kakashi slammed a hand over his mouth. Kakashi moved his head to Naruto's ear. Don't say that too loud, Naruto, otherwise all of Hokage-sama's hard work will have gone to waste, said Kakashi cryptically. Naruto nodded understanding. He had to be careful. Many people, elders in the village and the civilian council, coveted the Sharingan, and if they found out their Jinchuriki had won, it would cause a riot. Okay, so yeah, you can't train me, but you can train Sasuke. Go on, said Naruto. The fox looked up at Kakashi and simply cocked its head, before it moved to sleep on Naruto's shoulder again. But don't worry, I have found you another sensei, one stronger than even I. He has come here specially for you, though he is 12 years too late, said Kakashi. Naruto remembered, reading some of his dad's book briefly, before he got too busy. Naruto gasped slightly for a totally different reason. Oh, I forgot to read the books, said Naruto. Kakashi frowned slightly. I thought you got who your sensei was. Don't make me give another clue, said Kakashi, his tone mock anger. No, is it my dad's sensei, Jiraiya of the Sennin, said Naruto quietly, realizing he was in a public place. Kakashi, I smiled, correct, but the next part is finding him, said Kakashi. Kakashi raised a hand to move through the hospital. Is a friend of yours in hospital, Kakashi-sensei, asked Naruto. Kakashi sighed. Sasuke is, said Kakashi simply. Naruto realized, Kakashi didn't speak of Sasuke as fondly as he used to. Did he do something wrong, asked Naruto. Kakashi sighed. He tried to kill you, said Kakashi. Naruto raised an eyebrow. When? I think I would have remembered, said Naruto. Kakashi sighed. Well, he didn't get very far, but the fact you have, you know what, has deeply offended Sasuke for no reason, said Kakashi. Naruto nodded and put his hand up to Kakashi. See you in a month, sensei, said Naruto. Kakashi nodded and moved through the hospital. Naruto left the hospital and stepped out into the warm mid-morning sun. He raised his head to the sky and took a deep breath. Oh hey, Naruto called Shikamaru. Naruto nodded. Hey Shikamaru, Choji, what no Ino, said Naruto. Shikamaru sighed. No Ino kind of freaked out when Sasuke went all purple chakra and talking about killing you, said Shikamaru. Naruto frowned slightly. Kakashi didn't say that, said Naruto. Shikamaru sighed. It's because that creepy Gaara guy goaded him, said Shikamaru. Naruto nodded slightly. He looked at the pale face of Choji. How did you do? Choji asked Naruto. Choji sighed. I failed. I was just well, that Gaara guy just crushed his opponent, no questions asked, said Choji. Naruto nodded. Doesn't surprise me, said Naruto. Shikamaru nodded. Naruto, my parents wondered if you wouldn't mind coming to see them later, for dinner perhaps, said Shikamaru. Naruto raised an eyebrow. Yeah, my parents want the same. It appears news of you travels fast, said Choji. Shikamaru sighed. Troublesome, you know why, right, said Shikamaru looking at Naruto, who was looking into the clouds. Yeah, the old man has a plan, that and being that after the finals everyone is going to know about my parents, said Naruto. Choji and Shikamaru looked at each other slightly and gave a brief nod. Well, whatever, we will see you later, Naruto. Don't worry about my parents, I will tell them you were really busy, said Shikamaru. Naruto calmly nodded his thanks. So you training, Naruto? Asked Choji. Naruto nodded and looked at the sky. Yeah, I just have to find my sensei, said Naruto. Shikamaru frowned. Kakashi just walked in the hospital, said Shikamaru. Naruto nodded and sighed. He isn't training me, Jiraiya of the Sennin is, said Naruto. Shikamaru sighed and rubbed a hand through his hair. The thought of fighting you sounds even more troublesome, said Shikamaru. Naruto nodded. I am eager to see if we fight, Shikamaru. It would be an interesting experience, said Naruto simply, his bow to Choji and Shikamaru before he crouched and touched his palm to the floor. He blurred and was gone. Naruto dashed from building to building, his eyes searching the crowd. He had stopped at the academy to ask Hiruka what Jiraiya looked like. Naruto had a vague idea, but was unsure as to if he was following the correct track. Naruto ended up on top of a street light, his eyes looking down at the giggling white-haired man sat on a toad. He was peeking through a hole into the ladies' section. Naruto rolled his eyes and dropped to the floor soundlessly. Ho ho ho, this is perfect for my book, said Jiraiya with a bit of drool hanging out of his mouth. If this is how you spent the past 12 years, I am pretty pissed, said Naruto. Jiraiya turned slowly, his eyes scanning Naruto. Go away, brat, I am busy, said Jiraiya. Naruto rolled his eyes. Jiraiya was shadowed. Naruto was sat crouched on the fence, looking directly into the female baths. A few women shrieked, but Naruto held up a placating hand. I am afraid to say, ladies, but you have been subjected to a dirty old man's leers for a while now. I decided to be a decent man and tell you, said Naruto coolly. The women followed the nod of his head, their eyes snapping to the hole in the fence, and the eye that disappeared rapidly. Thank you, young man, said one of the women. Naruto raised a hand and hopped off the fence. Jiraiya was glaring at Naruto, a slight pout on his face. How rude, muttered Jiraiya. Naruto raised an eyebrow. Rude. Rude is leaving your godchild to fend for himself. Rude is visiting the village, and not coming to see how your godson was faring. If anyone here is rude, it's you, said Naruto coldly. Jiraiya had the grace to look guilty slightly. I did mean to. Jiraiya started, but was cut off with a simply tsk. Don't bother, are you going to train me or what? If not, I will do it myself. I have been doing it for a while now, said Naruto, his tone blasé, but his eyes were accusing. Jiraiya winced slightly. Naruto simply walked past the silent man. Naruto, wait. Started Jiraiya. Naruto shook his head. The fact you can't say anything, it makes it hurt more, said Naruto in an uncaring and bored tone. He crouched down, and before Jiraiya could stop him, he disappeared in a blur. Jiraiya cursed and disappeared also, the toad exploding in a cloud of smoke. Naruto kept Jiraiya at a long distance. He moved swiftly through the village. He was heading to his training ground, his body moving swiftly. Unbeknownst to him, Jiraiya was watching every move like a hawk, studying and critiquing. Naruto landed in the training ground, his eyes morphing into the Sharingan. He dodged 3 kunai, his body flipping instantly, Shuriken lodging into the floor. I could have hit you so many times then, your Sharingan may help, but to things you can't see, it's pretty useless, said Jiraiya. Naruto scowled. Jiraiya landed on the ground with his arms crossed. So what, stalk me until I talk, said Naruto. Jiraiya smirked. It worked, said Jiraiya simply. Naruto nodded. It did, he answered. The silence that followed was deafening. Jiraiya simply stood with his arms crossed. Your speed dash is good but flawed. Having to touch the ground means you are vulnerable. Your little taijutsu attack is also flawed. I know a way to help maximize that, so you don't need to ever crouch to speed dash, or focus fire into your limbs, said Jiraiya. Naruto nodded seriously to himself. If you are going to train me, I have somewhere we can go, said Naruto. Jiraiya already had an idea. It's up to you, said Jiraiya. Naruto pulled a scroll out of thin air. He opened it and pointed at the blank space. Jiraiya, getting the idea, pricked his finger with a kunai. "Let's train for the month, I can get a lot done in months," said Naruto simply. Jiraiya nodded, a smirk on his face. Sasuke walked through the dark district that once housed the proud Uchiha. He was silently fuming. Naruto was being trained by someone who wanted him specifically. The thought of Naruto made Sasuke's throat burn in anger. He walked through the main hall of the Uchiha family shrine, and his senses went into alert, but before he could move, he fell to the floor clutching his shoulder. "Kukukuku, Sasuke-kun, how about I train you as well?" said a menacing whisper in the air. Sasuke looked up into the snake-like eyes of Orochimaru. Sasuke shakily tried to stand. "Yes, give me enough power to rip those Sharingan from Naruto's eyes, then I will kill Itachi," said Sasuke, a dark smile sliding onto his face. "Kukukuku, of course my little pet, of course," said Orochimaru, his eyes glinting. "Let's see Jiraiya-kun, whose Sharingan is better," thought Orochimaru. Time skip, 2 weeks. Naruto flipped backwards, a fist flying beneath him. He landed gracefully. The scabbard of his tanto was held in his left hand. His right hand flew to the hilt and he quickly deflected the kunai stab, his arm moving in a swift arc outwards, and returning to the scabbard in a fluid motion. Jiraiya, unperturbed, simply charged forward. He dodged the quick slashes from Naruto, his body simply gliding. "You are getting good with the sword style, Naruto," said Jiraiya. Naruto nodded as he continued his assault. "Thanks, Jiraiya-sensei," said Naruto. He slashed outwards and in quick succession, slashed multiple times. He kicked his foot out and slid the tanto home at the same time. Jiraiya skated backwards, the kunai shattering in his hand. "Very good," said Jiraiya. He dashed forward. Naruto ducked backwards. In the same motion he twisted his body around and ducked facing forward. He spun backwards, unsheathing his tanto. He slashed once horizontally, hitting Jiraiya's kunai on the tip. Jiraiya's arm flew upwards slightly. Naruto spun the tanto in his hand, and with a reverse grip he dashed forward. He spun and sent out a kick. Jiraiya caught the kick. Naruto spun and slashed at Jiraiya. Jiraiya simply caught the wrist holding the tanto. "Your aggression in fighting is top marks indeed," said Jiraiya softly. Naruto smirked and Jiraiya turned as a clone of Naruto slashed at his back. The clone was expelled by a clone of Jiraiya. "Cheater," Naruto huffed. Jiraiya gave a smirk. "Clones, I can do them too," said Jiraiya. Naruto nodded and whilst still being held up by Jiraiya, he simply kicked Jiraiya with his other foot. Jiraiya stumbled backwards. Naruto landed on all fours before he jumped onto his 2 feet. "So what now?" asked Naruto. One thing he didn't like about Jiraiya's training methods was the erratic process. One day he would work on taijutsu, then he would suddenly move to tactics. Jiraiya shrugged. "Dunno, carrying on with taijutsu," said Jiraiya. Naruto sighed and rubbed a hand through his hair. "Jiraiya-sensei, we have been here for 2 weeks, and I haven't learned a single jutsu," said Naruto. Jiraiya shook his head, crossing his arms. "That's not the point, Naruto-kun. There are 2 ways to train. One is much like my old teammate Orochimaru, in which he learns as many ninjutsu as he can, as he believes a ninja without ninjutsu is not a ninja at all. Or there is the more in-depth training. Your father did it, I did it," said Jiraiya. Naruto frowned slightly. "And what style of training is that?" questioned Naruto. Jiraiya smiled slightly. "It's mastering all you have learned at the moment, and once it is all refined, learn more. So as it stands, you are limiting what you can learn," said Jiraiya. Naruto scowled. "You said at the beginning of training, that I wasn't allowed to use shadow clones," said Naruto. Jiraiya nodded seriously. "Exactly, because you need to do it yourself. Refinement only comes from you," said Jiraiya. Naruto nodded and dropped into his fighting style. "Then let's go," said Naruto. Jiraiya nodded with a small smile, and he dashed forward. The sun beat down upon the Hidden Leaf Village. The village was abuzz. People were eagerly moving towards the large stadium. Excitement echoed through the village. It was almost visible. Shikamaru sighed as he led in the center of the large arena. The clouds moved overhead lazily. He heaved a sigh. "You should stop sighing, Shikamaru. People might actually think you are bored," said Naruto. Shikamaru turned his head and felt his eyes widen slightly. Naruto was stood with his longish hair pulled into a ponytail. His fringe was swept to the side, a single band of hair falling down his cheek. His hair was messy. His horns of hair stood on his head. His piercing silver eyes were looking towards the sky. He was wearing a gray t-shirt. The collar was sticking up. The zip was done up to the middle of his chest, revealing a simple gold necklace, 3 stripes of gold, 2 smaller bars with a longer bar in the center. He wore a pair of form-fitting pants, tucked into plain white stirrups and black ninja sandals. But what caught Shikamaru's interest was the large pole strapped to Naruto's back. Shikamaru assumed it was a katana, Whatever it was wrapped in a tight red fabric. The strap that went over Naruto's shoulder and down past his waist was black and appeared to be wrapped around the fabric. Got a lot of training done, I see, and a costume change, said Shikamaru. Naruto frowned slightly. Jiraiya-sensei got them for me, said Naruto calmly. Slowly the arena began to fill with people. Naruto and Shikamaru moved to the meeting place of the contestants, knowing they weren't actually allowed on the field. I won't tell if you won't, whispered Shikamaru. Naruto smirked simply. Indeed, answered Naruto. Neji arrived next, sending a glare at Naruto, who returned with a frightening snarl and ice-cold glare. How is Hinata, asked Shikamaru softly. Naruto smiled slightly. She is perfectly fine, she is coming here today, to watch me kick Neji's ass, said Naruto confidently. Neji gave a smirk. Okay, you guys might as well come on and wait outside, 2 of you are already there, said the Jonin proctor. Naruto frowned slightly. Where is Hinata? Asked Naruto. The Jonin proctor looked down sadly. He is in ICU, said the Jonin simply. Naruto frowned slightly but otherwise dropped the subject. They walked out into the arena. A loud cheering met them. People excited much questioned Naruto. He turned and spotted the Sandnin walking towards them. This doesn't happen often. It allows for people to gamble and enjoy a good show, said the Jonin. Naruto rolled his eyes slightly. A bit silly, it's an important moment for us, but they are here for a good show, said Naruto. The Jonin smiled slightly. Don't forget, the examiners and cages want to see a show also, said the Jonin. Naruto rolled his eyes once more. Gaara stood glaring at Naruto. Naruto was just looking up at the sky. Wow, look at Naruto, whispered Dino to Sakura. Choji just groaned slightly. I know, he looks so different, his hair is longer, said Sakura. Choji groaned loudly. He'll be lucky if he keeps it. Neji is going to destroy Naruto, said a confident Tenten. Sakura just gave her a blank look. We will see, said Sakura, confident in her own teammate. I wonder where Sasuke-kun is though, said Dino. Sakura nodded, her eyes peering at the contestants. Welcome to the Chunin exams. We have a good batch of Genin here today. Each have been given a month to train, as you are all aware. Bets have been made, so please enjoy the show. First match is Neji Hyuga vs Naruto Uzumaki, said the Jonin proctor. Shikamaru nodded and moved to the designated booth for the contestants. Danzo and the village elders all moved in their seats, eager to get a look at the new Naruto. Neji, said Naruto icily. Neji just smirked. Naruto, said Neji with a confident smirk. Now, killing is not permitted, similar to the preliminaries. If I say stop, I mean stop, said the Jonin. Naruto and Neji nodded, their eyes never leaving each other. We got it, they said at the same time. Hinata watched with her arms clutched in front of her. Memories of waking up, seeing Naruto's smiling face, his hug, his tears, all for her. Okay, good luck and hopefully you both can become Chunin, said the Jonin proctor. He raised his arm and the racket from spectators died almost instantly. Look at you, Uzumaki-san, stood all proud. It is your destiny to lose here, said Neji. Naruto raised an eyebrow. How so? Questioned Naruto. Neji smirked. You are here to prove you are stronger than me, than anyone here, but someone like you who has had no help in training. Never stands a chance against me, said Neji. Naruto shook his head. I am not fighting for me, I am fighting for Hinata-kun. You almost killed her, and for that, I will kill you, said Naruto. The Jonin proctor coughed. Are you going to fight or just have a pissing match, he muttered. Naruto just stood calm, and Neji dropped into his family stance, his Byakugan activated. Gai-sensei warned me, I need to test his speed before I proceed, Neji thought. Naruto just stood, his eyes never leaving Neji. Are they actually going to move, wondered Ino. Everyone in the arena were eager, sat on the edge of their seats. Neji watched as Naruto began to shimmer slightly. It was like he was smoking. Black smoke moved off of his form. It licked his entire body. Like Albert Wesker from Resident Evil 5 and Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3, Neji backward flipped, kunai in his fingers, one left swiftly. It was directed right at Naruto's head. As it came close to hitting, Naruto was gone. He was crouched to the left slightly. He had managed to move forward in the blink of an eye. Neji threw more kunai, but each missed their target. Checking my speed, questioned Naruto. Neji blinked slightly. His eyes also zeroed on the katana strapped onto Naruto's back. He clearly had no intention of using it, as it was wrapped in red fabric and a black strap. Yes, I need to know what I am dealing with, said Neji. Naruto smirked slightly and then he was gone. Neji felt the boulder force strike his chest. Naruto was crouched slightly, directly in front of him, his arm outstretched. One was a clawed hand that had struck him, but outwards the other side was a simply flat palm facing forward. Neji flew backwards against the wall, A sickening crack echoed. Neji stumbled forward but felt a gloved hand on his face. The back of his head was slammed into the wall. "I warned you," said Naruto with a slight snarl. Naruto dragged Neji's head across the wall. Before he launched him to the center of the clearing, Naruto disappeared, and slammed a foot into Neji. Neji coughed out blood and slammed into the ground. Naruto landed next to Neji, his foot hooked beneath Neji's waist. Naruto flipped backwards onto his hands. Neji's body left the ground still hooked to Naruto's foot. Neji flew through the air. Naruto suddenly appeared above him. A boot kicked his legs to spin him, and then a harsh boot drove into his stomach once more. Neji didn't feel himself hit the ground. Naruto stood over Neji, the black shroud fading. The arena was silent. He had dominated Neji in the shortest amount of time. Of course Naruto had a lot of anger helping him, but he has perfected as much as he could with Jiraiya. Slowly people started to clap. Naruto simply bowed and moved to the spectator box. As he was leaving, the cheering had picked up, though the shocked clapping was still audible. I can't believe it," whispered Tenten. Ino, Sakura and Choji were equally as shocked. Hinata was smiling slightly, though her eyes were sad as they watched Neji be carted off in a stretcher. Kiba was just flapping his mouth open like a fish. "That boy is something," said Asuma. Kurenai just nodded woodenly. Up in the cage box, Sarutobi had a small smile on his face. "That Uzumaki boy was quite a surprise indeed," said the Kazekage. Sarutobi nodded. "Indeed, I never expected him to come so far so fast," said Sarutobi. The Kazekage nodded. Danzo was stood outrage in his visible eye. Koharu and Homura were visibly shaken. "Hiruzen hid this from us," deliberately growled Danzo. Koharu frowned slightly. "We don't know that, though it is possible," said Koharu. Homura was just looking at the boy. "He is an interesting one," he said simply. Over at the examiner's table, the daimyo and examiners all had their heads locked together. "An interesting boy indeed, swift efficient," said one of the examiners. A couple nodded whilst the daimyo just nodded in agreement. "No movement was wasted, and he thought through his attack before he charged," said another examiner. This examiner was from Suna. "Indeed, he also didn't rush head first, he waited patiently," said the daimyo. His tone was uncaring. The examiners just sighed slightly and carried on. "I say a definite pass," said the first examiner. The second frowned slightly. "I wish to see his next battle," said the second examiner. The daimyo nodded. "I too wish to see the next fight," said the daimyo, and the final examiner thought silently. "I wish to see the next battle," answered the third examiner. As they were talking, the Jonin proctor was changing the board around. Due to the fact Sasuke hadn't shown yet, Naruto frowned slightly. Shikamaru sighed as his name was called. "I think I might just quit now," groaned Shikamaru. Naruto just laughed slightly and Shikamaru looked at him with a frown. "You're different again," said Shikamaru. Naruto smiled slightly. "Perhaps I am," said Naruto. He walked towards Shikamaru, his body smoking the black shroud once more. "Don't bother, Naruto," groaned Shikamaru. Naruto simply pressed two fingers to Shikamaru's chest and Shikamaru cursed as his feet left the ground. He flew over the railings, Naruto's smirk flashing before his eyes. "Damn him," cursed Shikamaru mentally. He lay there on the hard ground, the booing barely registering in his mind. "Get up, you bastard," said Temari. Shikamaru simply sighed and stood slowly. "Hurry up and win, Shikamaru, I want to fight you," said Naruto simply. Shikamaru turned and looked at Naruto's calm silver eyes. Shikamaru cursed. "Fine, you too," said Shikamaru. Naruto nodded with a small smile. Shikamaru turned to walk to the center. "How did you know that would motivate him?" asked Shino. Naruto turned and smiled slightly. "I just did, that boy is far too lazy, he just needs some encouragement," said Naruto. Shino nodded and looked at Naruto sharply behind his glasses. "You are much calmer, not as broody," said Shino. Naruto laughed. He was alerted to the sound of someone appearing by sunshine. "Naruto, have you seen Sasuke?" asked a panicked Kakashi. Naruto shook his head. "No, I assumed he would be with you," said Naruto. Kakashi cursed. "Good match by the way," said Kakashi. Naruto nodded his head in thanks. Kakashi disappeared in a blur. Naruto turned to watch the wind tear through the ground. "She is playing hardball," said Naruto. Shino nodded and simply kept quiet. The match dragged on with Shikamaru slowly gaining ground. The crowd were also on the edge of their seats, as Shikamaru was sat behind a tree in a strange position. Naruto frowned slightly. Shino also questioned mentally what Shikamaru was doing. Naruto smiled slightly as finally Shikamaru won his match. He was smart, far smarter than Naruto first assumed. Shikamaru moved up the stairs and smiled as he saw Naruto's smirk. "How was that?" said Shikamaru with a bored sigh. Naruto laughed slightly. "Oh, it was good. I am a bit wary of fighting you now," said Naruto. Shikamaru sighed. Naruto turned as he heard Shino's name called. "I forfeit," said Kankuro quickly. Shino raised an eyebrow, but otherwise shrugged. Naruto could sense Shino's frustration. The proctor looked confused slightly but otherwise twirled the senbon in his mouth. The crowd booed loudly. Naruto simply adjusted the katana on his back. Fair enough. Moving on to the final match of the set, Sasuke Uchiha vs Gaara Sabaku, said the proctor. The sound died instantly. Gaara-san shunshined to the center of the arena. People were muttering. Kakashi appeared next to Naruto, his hands tightening on the bars. Naruto sensed Sasuke long before he saw him. Sasuke blurred and touched down in the center of the arena directly in front of Gaara. He was wearing a pair of black pants, a pair of knee-length black boots, similar to Naruto's older ones. He had a large piece of purple rope tied around his waist. A purple sword was placed diagonally on his lower back. It wasn't as long as Naruto's sword, showing he clearly wasn't practiced enough within the month to use a full-size katana. He wore a high-collared black t-shirt with the buttons done up to just above his belly button. The Uchiha fans stitched on the collar. His hair was also different. Instead of the parting that usually revealed his headband, was now covered with a fringe. 2 bands still fell down the side of his face, and his hair was less spiky at the back. He gave Gaara a horrid smirk that set many ninjas on edge. "You taught Sasuke how to use a sword?" questioned Naruto. Kakashi shook his head. "No, I didn't," said Kakashi. The Jonin proctor began to talk, but Naruto's eyes morphed into the Sharingan as Sasuke looked directly at him. 3 tomos spun in each eye. Someone has definitely been training him, thought Naruto. Kakashi's thoughts were on a similar line. The proctor raised his hand and dropped it. Sasuke blurred forward, pulling his sword out instantly. He slashed gracefully, but Gaara simply stood with his arms crossed. The sand popped out of the gourd on his back and blocked the blade slash with little resistance. Sasuke blurred to Gaara's left side and slashed once more. The sand moved swiftly and blocked the shots. Sasuke flipped backward quickly as the sand lashed out. He flipped backwards, launching himself a distance away from Gaara. Mid-flip he slid his blade home, and as he landed on his feet, he flashed through hand seals. "I didn't teach him that," murmured Kakashi. Sasuke spat out 3 dragons that each flew at Gaara with deadly accuracy. The sand blocked one of the dragons, but the intensity of the fire turned the sand to a molten clear glob. The second dragon hit, causing Gaara to stumble backwards, surprise on his otherwise emotionless face. Another blob of liquid fell to the floor. The third dragon hit and forced Gaara to fall down. Naruto ignored the shocked gasps of the sand ninja, and his Sharingan whirled as he focused on the match. Sasuke pulled out his blade and dashed forward. He slashed quickly and gracefully, down at Gaara, who was laid on the ground. His other hand was pulled into a fist. As Sasuke twisted the blade to remove it from his passage, he slammed a fist into Gaara's sand. The sand crisped and burned away. "That is some nature manipulation," murmured Shikamaru. Sasuke pulled the blade down. It glowed and crackled with blue electricity. He stabbed through Gaara's shoulder. Sasuke left the sparking blade and backward flipped. A small blue lightning line was moving from his hand to the sword. "Chakra conducting blade, which is a pricey item," said Naruto simply. Kakashi was watching the match with silent awe. He can't have learned all of that on his own, could he? Thought Kakashi. His suspicion rose as Sasuke slammed his hands into the ground and electricity moved to the sword, using it as a lightning rod. Gaara shook violently, his eyes rolling back. Sasuke ran and jumped onto the end of the blade, his fingers flashing through hand seals. At that range, cried out Tamari. The sand armor was slowly falling off of Gaara. Sasuke sucked in a breath, and before he had a chance to expel the jutsu, the Sand Jonin appeared in front of him. "Gaara admits defeat," said the Sand Jonin. Sasuke stepped off of the blade and uncaring pulled it out from Gaara's shoulder. Sasuke slid the blade home, and without a word he moved towards the spectator's box. Naruto watched the Sand Ninja leave and run towards the sensei that was leaving the arena floor via the hospital wing. Sasuke wordlessly walked up to Naruto and smirked evilly. "Those Sharingan will be mine," said Sasuke viciously. Naruto frowned slightly. "Sasuke, who trained you?" said Naruto. Sasuke smirked. "You are not the only one who can have more than one sensei," said Sasuke. Naruto and Shikamaru looked at each other. Naruto realized Sasuke's double meaning, and Shikamaru raised an eyebrow. "Naruto and Shikamaru, please come down," said the Jonin proctor. Naruto simply leapt into the center of the clearing. Shikamaru sighed as he walked slowly. Naruto was stretching as Shikamaru made his way to the center of the arena. "This is so troublesome," said Shikamaru. Naruto smirked. "Come on, Shikamaru, you are a little bit excited," said Naruto. Shikamaru smirked. "A little, but not enough for me to actually want to try," said Shikamaru. The Jonin called the match and Naruto leapt back throwing a kunai. Shikamaru mirrored. "I can't believe Shikamaru is actually fighting Naruto," said Choji with disbelief. Sakura frowned slightly. "Why?" she asked. Ino huffed slightly. "Shikamaru is so lazy, it's just rare to actually see him fight like he wants to," said Ino. Asuma and Kurenai were discussing the same thing as both Shikamaru and Naruto were playing throwing knives. Naruto spun in the air as a kunai passed beneath him. He landed on his feet gracefully. "Come on, Shika, I know you're better than that," said Naruto with a bored tone. Shikamaru smirked slightly. He dropped to his knees, his hands moving into his thinking pose. "You are actually going to let me think?" questioned Shikamaru. Naruto smirked and nodded. "No fun, unless I have a plan to thwart," said Naruto simply. Shikamaru muttered troublesome and closed his eyes. The audience were unclear how to take the clearly friendly match between fighters. Shikamaru stood slowly, his hand raised. "I quit," said Shikamaru. Outrage cried out through the crowd. Naruto nodded his head with a small smile. He moved forward and shook Shikamaru's hand as the crowd booed loudly. Naruto was about to move to the viewers' box when Shino simply called out his forfeit. The crowd screamed out once more, but Naruto shivered in anticipation. Sasuke blurred onto the arena floor, his eyes wide with joy. The crowd seemed to remember who was fighting and silenced instantly. Naruto simply stepped forward and gave Sasuke a smirk. "Ready?" questioned Naruto. Sasuke smirked. "Those Sharingan of yours are mine," said Sasuke. Naruto could practically feel the shock of everyone listening. The arena was rigged with special mics that made the voices louder. Danzo looked completely gobsmacked and fuming. "Not today, Uchiha," said Naruto. The Jonin proctor raised his arm, and the crowd shifted on their seats. That's it for this video. I hope you all enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and follow me on my other social media accounts. Anime God here, and I'm signing off.